So the ideal ranges for this are supposed to be like 60 to 80% humidity and 34 to 38 degrees Fahrenheit. My fridge has a constant airflow from the open freezer on the top. So I have a constant flow of cold air. It generally sits right around 33, 34 degrees. I'm a little colder than ideal, but that works for me because I'm doing it at home. I don't have a professional setup. I'm not gauging microbes and all that stuff. I have a similar thing with humidity. The standard humidity for my fridge tends to be right in the like 40s and 50s. This time around, it actually stayed up towards 55, 60, which I like that I'm a little lower because if your temperature is higher or if your humidity is higher, you have to worry more about the microbes going on. The side effect of this is that my beef does age slower. Uh, I used to work with a guy who did dry aging for one of the big grocery stores, and he kind of laid out the plan of what the beef looked like as it aged. And my first attempt rolled through basically 3 or 4 days behind at the 30-day mark. So colder, lower moisture, it worked, but it wasn't really ideal. The other side effect is I have more moisture loss because the atmosphere is pulling more water out of my beef. I started at 8.6 pounds, and I don't remember the number that I weighed before I cut, but I only ended up with 4 pounds of ribeye after losing the weight to the water and then cutting away the beef that got dry. Um, the other thing that happened this time is at some point I adjusted the temperature. I think it was when I was cleaning it before I put the beef in, and I knocked it down so that the refrigerator spent like 3 days at 30 degrees, and I didn't notice. So it did have a light freeze for a few days in there. I'm not entirely sure what that changed, except that the outer edge of my beef was a little crunchier at the end of the dry than I thought it would be. The beef I used for this was a Canadian AAA ribeye. I used the Canadian AAA because in my store it's sold as select, even though it's actually comparable to the American choice. But the different countries have different rating systems. Price wise, I paid $8.99 a pound for this, and the results should be more or less comparable to a 26 ish per pound. So there's some value add there. Flavor wise, I don't get nutty. It's a little bit cheesy. I do understand when people say that. And maybe because my drying is a little low, like my humidity is low, it does get a little dense. I don't, I wouldn't say it makes it chewier, but there's a density to it. And I wouldn't say that it tenderizes, but even though I don't necessarily like this smell, the way like I like a fresh baked bread or something where the smell is like subjectively really good. When eating these ribeyes, there's something about them that drive you to get more. Like it's compulsive. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but the beef that I put in initially had a value for what I paid for it at $77.30. The the 5 steaks equaling 4 pounds that I got out of it at the end had a combined value of $104. So there's about a 30-ish dollar uh, value there